Now if you
Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Days after political turmoil, French President Macron reappoints Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister. Lecornu faces Monday deadline to deliver next year's budget before Parliament. Trump escalates trade war with China, announces additional 100% tariff on Chinese goods from November 1st, also threatens to cancel summit talks with counterpart Xi Jinping. Deadly blasts rocks US military explosive manufacturing facility in Tennessee. Multiple dead, 19 missing, rescue operations underway. In a push to agriculture and allied sectors, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch, lay foundation and dedicate various schemes and projects in New Delhi. French President Emmanuel Macron on Friday reappointed Sébastien Lecornu as the Prime Minister just 4 days after his resignation. Macron made the announcement late on Friday, hours after meeting all the main parties together at the Élysée Palace, except the leaders of the far right and far left. Lecornu on X said after Élysée announcement that he had accepted the mission out of duty. He further added, anyone joining his new cabinet must give up plans to run in 2027 presidential race, promising instead renewal and diversity of skills. As the Prime Minister, Lecornu has to face an immediate test to present a draft budget bill for 2026, first to the cabinet and then on the same day to Parliament. Missing the deadline would leave lawmakers without the 70 days Constitution grants to debate and pass the budget before year-end. The Constitutional Court also requires 8 days to review the legislation. If Lecornu is brought down by a no-confidence vote, as some opponents are already promising, Parliament would need to pass emergency stopgap legislation to authorize spending, taxation and borrowing from January 1st until a full budget is adopted. France resorted to such emergency measures last December after the then Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government was ousted, invalidating his proposed 2025 budget. France has been mired in political stalemate since the president dissolved the parliament in June last year, triggering snap elections that produced a hung National Assembly and left Macron's centrist bloc without a majority. US President Donald Trump announced an additional 100% tariff on China on Friday, reigniting his trade war with Beijing in a row over export curbs on rare earth minerals. In a post on social media platform, Trump says the extra levies plus US export controls on any and all critical software would come into effect from November 1st. Trump accused Beijing of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade and warned that United States will respond in kind. He also said export controls will be placed on all critical software starting the same day. President Trump also threatened to pull out of a meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. He later said he had not cancelled it, but that he did not know. He says that we're going to have it. Rare earth elements are critical to manufacturing, everything from smartphones to electric vehicles to military hardware and renewable energy technology. China dominates global production and processing of these materials. Meanwhile, China has hit US-owned vessels docking in the country with tit-for-tat fees in response to the American government's planned port fees on Chinese vessels. Ships owned or operated by American companies or individuals and ships built in the US or flying with the American flag would be subjected to $56 per net ton fee per voyage if they dock in China. The new port fee would take effect on October 14th. the same day when the United States is due to start imposing port fees on Chinese vessels. Washington and Beijing engaged in tit-for-tat tariffs war earlier this year that threatened to effectively halt trade between the world's two largest economies. Both sides eventually agreed to de-escalate tensions, but the truce has been shaky. United States on Friday threatened to impose sanctions and take over punitive actions on countries backing the International Maritime Organization's net zero framework proposal. This development comes as members of the London-based International Maritime Organization are set to vote next week on the adoption of the net zero framework, an agreement aimed at reducing global carbon emissions from the shipping sector. The Trump administration has expressed strong stance against the framework, asserting that it would lead to increased costs impacting American citizens, energy providers, shipping companies and tourists. In a statement released on Friday, the administration made its position clear, aiming to protect American economic interests against any measures perceived as economically disadvantageous. US President Trump on Friday outlined his upcoming visits to Israel and Egypt following Israeli government's approval of Phase 1 of the Gaza peace plan, describing the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas as a great deal for the world. Trump said the deal would secure the release of hostages and the return of approximately 28 bodies.
As you know, on Monday the hostages come back. They're getting them now. They're getting them now. They're in some pretty rough places under earth. They're in some pretty rough places where only a few people know where they are, in some cases. So they're getting them, and they're also getting the bodies, approximately 28 bodies. And some of those bodies are being unearthed right now as we speak. They're working on it right now as we speak. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. I'll be going to Israel. I'll be speaking at the Knesset, I think, early on, and then I'm also going to Egypt.
Earlier, Israel declared a ceasefire in Gaza and began to pull back its forces on Friday. Tens and thousands of exhausted Palestinians made their way back to their devastated homes. As the ceasefire began, long columns of Palestinians, exhausted by 2 years of intense bombardment, began a trek from the southern city of Khan Yunis towards their shattered homes further north. Gaza Civil Defense Agency confirmed that Israeli troops and armored vehicles were pulling back from forward positions in both Gaza City and Khan Yunis. Meanwhile, the EU mission at Rafah border between Gaza and Egypt will be reopening a pedestrian crossing on October 14th. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that Qatar will be allowed to build an Air Force facility at Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho that will house F-15 fighter jets and pilots. The announcement comes soon after President Donald Trump signed an executive order vowing to defend the Gulf Arab state against attacks following Israeli airstrikes targeting Hamas leaders in Qatari capital Doha. Idaho base currently also hosts a fighter jet squadron from Singapore, according to its website. The Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar is Washington's largest military facility in Middle East. Later, Hegseth clarified that Qatar will not have their own base in the United States, but US will be controlling the existing base. 19 people were missing and possibly dead after devastating explosion at a military explosive plant in Tennessee. The explosion at Accurate Energetic Systems occurred at about 12:45 GMT. Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis said there were multiple fatalities, but it was still too early to know precisely how many people had perished, saying it was still possible there were some survivors. Investigators from FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives were at the scene working to determine the cause of the explosion. Guatemala received first flight from the US carrying foreign migrants returning from the United States as well as Guatemalan citizens. The Guatemala's IGM Migration Authority confirmed on Friday the flight carried 356 Guatemalans in December. The Guatemala's government was open to receiving citizens of other Central American nations who are deported from the United States as the country looks to build a positive relationship with the Trump administration. Argentine President Javier Milei called US $20 billion financial support historic, stating it would provide stability as his government faces mounting political challenges ahead of the country's crucial midterm elections. The US Treasury finalized a $20 billion currency swap framework with Argentina and bought pesos in the open market on Thursday. The US intervention comes at a critical moment for Milei, whose party holds a minority position in Argentina's legislature. Lawmakers are working to restrict the president's ability to govern by decree, raising the stakes for his party in the October 26th midterm polls. And things take a dramatic turn in Peru as President José Jerry scrambled to assemble a new government after taking office on Friday, looking to tap names that can help calm widespread public anger over rising crime and corruption ahead of next year's elections. Jerry is now pulling together his 19-member cabinet, marking a critical test in his efforts to form a consensus cabinet to calm a volatile nation. The 38-year-old took office after his predecessor, Dina Boluarte, was ousted in an overnight congressional session. Congress voted to remove the leader for moral incapacity after mounting public anger and protest over a surge in crime that has seen extortion and murder skyrocket. Public anger came to a head after one of the country's most popular cumbia bands was attacked mid-concert on Wednesday at a venue owned by Peruvian army. Congress introduced multiple motions to impeach Boluarte on Thursday. Jerry, a conservative politician who has been embroiled in controversy of his own, including a sexual assault investigation and allegations of corruption, said that the allegations that he denies is Peru's 7th president since 2016. UN Security Council members on Friday expressed concern about escalating tensions between the United States and Venezuela, while Russia accused Washington of using shoot-first cowboy principle in attacking the alleged drug boats. Countries, including US allies France, Greece, Denmark, called for de-escalation and dialogue to resolve the tensions and adherence to international law. Venezuela's ambassador to the US, Samuel Moncada, told the UN meeting that based on US military buildup in the region and Washington's belligerent action and rhetoric, his country was facing a situation in which it is rational to anticipate that in very short term, an armed attack is to be perpetrated against Venezuela. The US has struck several vessels allegedly carrying drugs off the coast of Venezuela in recent weeks. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Mass layoffs of federal workers begins in the US as the shutdown enters the 11th day. Heavy rains in Mexico leave nearly 30 people dead. Morocco's king pushes for speedy reforms to boost jobs.
So now you can't talk about British imperialism in India without talking about the East India Company.
Britain is just dotted with the visible representations of loot from India. The one thing you folks have never done is just say sorry.
Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The White House said on Friday it had begun mass layoffs of federal workers as the federal shutdown entered 11th day on Saturday. With the crisis set to go into the third week and no off-ramp in sight, Trump's budget chief, Russ Vought, announced on social media that the administration was following through on threats to fire some 750,000 public servants placed on enforced leave. Job cuts were underway at the Treasury Department, the U.S. health agency, Internal Revenue Service and Departments of Education, Commerce and Homeland Security's Cyber Security Division. However, the total extent of the layoffs was not immediately clear. Roughly 300,000 federal civilian workers had already been set to leave their jobs this year due to a downsizing campaign initiated earlier this year by Trump. And Trump on Friday blamed the Democrats for his decision to lay off thousands of workers across the U.S. government as he followed through on his threat to cut the federal workforce during government shutdown. Trump has reportedly threatened to fire federal workers during the shutdown standoff. Trump has also ordered the freezing of at least $28 billion in infrastructure funds for New York, California and Illinois, all home to sizable population of Democratic voters. The announcement came on the same day that many federal workers were due to get reduced paychecks that do not include any pay for the days since the shutdown began. Hundreds of thousands have been ordered not to report to work, while others have been ordered to keep working without pay. The nation's 2 million active duty troops will miss their October 15th paycheck entirely if the shutdown is not resolved before then. Meanwhile, the Federal Aviation Administration has said the air traffic control staffing issues delayed travel for a fifth straight day as major U.S. airlines urge air travelers to be patient during an ongoing government shutdown. More than 22,000 had been delayed since Monday. Air travel is expected to rise in the United States during the 3-day Columbus Day holiday weekend. The FAA said it was experiencing staffing issues in Chicago, New York, Newark, San Diego, Dallas, Washington and Phoenix, among other airports. A temporary evacuation of the Atlanta Air Traffic Control Tower on Friday due to fire alarm and reports of a strong natural gas odor also snarled flights. Moving on, King Mohammed VI of Morocco on Friday called for accelerating reforms to create jobs for young people, improve public services and reduce regional inequalities. The king spoke at the opening of Parliament a week after large protests led by young people called for better healthcare, education and an end to corruption. He said national development projects should not conflict with social programs, called for faster progress and stronger results from new local development plans. The king also stressed the need to focus on mountain and oasis regions. Official data shows Morocco's unemployment rate is at over 12%, with youth unemployment at over 35%. As global attention turns to South Africa this week, ministers from across the G20 countries are meeting along KwaZulu-Natal's north coast discussing how to power the world's more sustainably. Among the key delegates is India's Minister for Power and Housing and Urban Affairs, Manohar Lal, who's leading discussions on clean energy and inclusive growth. Manohar Lal stated India successfully met its 2030 nationally determined contributions goal much ahead of schedule.
G20 बैठक और खास करके एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी को लेकर के जो यहाँ हुई है, इसमें बहुत से विषयों के ऊपर चर्चा हुई है साउथ अफ्रीका डरबन में। खुशी की बात यह है कि भारत ने जो एनडीसी के हमने अपनी प्रोजेक्शंस दी थी बाय 2030, हम जो 45% पर जाने वाले थे वो हम अभी 2025 में ही उसको हमने पूरा कर लिया है। एंड इवन मोर ऑफ इट जो हमने फोसिल से नॉन फोसिल में जाने की भी बात कही थी, वो भी 50% का आंकड़ा हमने पार कर लिया है और इन वेरी नियर फ्यूचर 2035 तक हम इसको 65% तक भी कर लेंगे।
Minister Manohar Lal also joined dignitaries and community leaders for the unveiling of a bust of Kasturba Gandhi at Phoenix Settlement in Durban, honouring a woman whose quiet strength helped shape history. The historic Phoenix Settlement, where Mahatma Gandhi once lived and developed his principles of truth and non-violence, served as a place of reflection and remembrance. Every year, as the chill of winter grips the northern hemisphere, the skies above India come alive with winged visitors from thousands of miles away. These migratory birds, symbols of resilience and wonder, travel across continents in search of warmth, food and safety. These birds bring with them more than just beauty. They bring a message of balance, coexistence and the urgent need for conservation. Let's listen on this report on World Migratory Bird Day.
Every winter, thousands of migratory birds arrive in India between October and March, escaping the cold and food scarcity in the northern hemisphere. They travel from regions like Siberia, Europe, and Central Asia to find refuge in India's warmer climate. India lies on three major migratory bird flyways: Central Asian and East Asian Australasian, bringing nearly 370 species of birds across vast routes that span Central Asia, Eurasia, and Indian Ocean. Wetlands and reserves across India become seasonal homes for these birds. Siberian cranes at Ranthambore, flamingos and pelicans at Chilika Lake, greater flamingos at Run of Kutch, bar-headed geese at Bong Dam, and countless water birds at Nal Sarovar and the Sundarbans. Their arrival transforms landscapes. Wetlands shimmer with life and cities echo with chirps. These birds bring color, music, and a gentle reminder of nature's beauty. World Migratory Bird Day, observed on May 10 and October 11, is a global campaign led by the United Nations to raise awareness about the protection of migratory birds and their habitats. This year's theme, Shared Spaces, Creating Bird-Friendly Cities and Communities, calls attention to the growing threats birds face due to urban expansion. Let us protect these winged travelers and ensure safer skies for generations to come. Bureau Report, DD India.
Some global weather updates now. Heavy rains in Mexico has left nearly 30 people dead, many missing, as downpours triggered several landslides, power cut off, and rivers to burst their banks. Civil protection authorities in Hidalgo confirmed the destruction of at least 1,000 homes and hundreds of schools. Mexico's civil defense authorities reported intense rains in 31 of the 32 states, with worst affected areas being Veracruz in the east. The Ministry of Defense said it had deployed over 5,400 personnel to help monitor, evacuate, and clean up the affected areas. Meanwhile, storms Raymond and Priscilla have been dumping rains on the Baja California Peninsula and the country's western Pacific seaboard. Strong winds and fog were reported on Saba Island, a Dutch territory, as tropical storm Jerry swept through the Caribbean on Friday. Local authorities report that a motorist was found dead after being swept away by floodwaters. The storm caused disruption on the roads, left hundreds of customers without power. Schools were shut, public transport, boat connections between islands cancelled. The storm prompted authorities to issue red alert for Guadalupe, but warnings have now been lowered to heavy rains and thunderstorm. Meanwhile, Martinique to the south remains on orange alert. The storm also skirted the coast of nearby islands of Saint Barthélemy and Saint Martin. Storm Jerry is now moving towards North Atlantic Ocean. In Philippines, day survivors of a pair of major earthquakes in southern region awoke on Saturday to scenes of devastation after hundreds of aftershocks rocked the region overnight. Many coastal residents of Mindanao Island had slept outdoors, fearful of being crushed to death by aftershocks of the 7.4 and 6.7 magnitude quakes that struck off the coast within hours of each other on Friday. Philippine authorities said at least 8 people were killed. They were still assessing the extent of the damage. In Mindanao municipality of 40,000 people were removing debris and sweeping up broken glass from homes and other buildings. On Saturday morning, the destruction came less than 2 weeks after the 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck the central Philippine island of Cebu, killing 75 people and wrecking about 72,000 houses. In other news, NATO will hold its major annual nuclear exercise next week, with an important part of the drill to focus on protecting the weapons before they're ever used. The long-planned Steadfast Noon exercise, which starts on Monday, is taking place amid heightened security around military facilities in Europe due to a series of mysterious drone incidents, some of them blamed on Russia. Steadfast Noon will run for about 2 weeks. It will be led by the Netherlands and involve 71 aircraft from 14 NATO countries. The exercise has been held at roughly the same time each year for a decade. Bomber aircraft and fighter jets that can carry nuclear warheads are taking part, but no nuclear weapons or live munitions will be used. The bulk of the exercise is being held in North Sea, far from Russia and Ukraine. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. In the US, Grand Central Terminal's 150 digital screens have been transformed into an art installation paying tribute to New York and its people. The two-week exhibition, created by photographer Brandon Stanton, replaces every digital screen in the landmark terminal and its subway concourse with portraits and stories of everyday residents alongside large-scale projections and live piano performance. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were honoured at Project Healthy Minds annual gala in New York on Thursday for their work in raising awareness around mental health. During their acceptance speech, the parents of two stressed the need for regulation when it comes to children and social media. Asuncion will host the Pan American Games for the first time in 2031. Paraguay's capital had lost the previous bid to Lima, which will host the Games in 2027. Asuncion hosted the Junior Pan American Games this year. Paraguay's initial budget for the 2031 Games is more than $350 million. October 11th is observed every year as International Day of the Girl Child, as declared by the UNICEF, a global occasion to honour girls around the world, amplify their voices and promote their leadership. More in this report. October 11th is celebrated annually as the International Day of the Girl Child to recognize girls and elevate their voices worldwide. The theme this year is The Girl I Am, The Change I Lead, Girls on the Front Lines of Crisis, which highlights girls' leadership in crisis situations. According to UNICEF, 122 million girls worldwide are out of school, including 34 million girls at the primary level and 87 million at the secondary. At the same time, the gender gap in global labor force participation still persists. Women's participation in the labor force is significantly lower than men, with the gap being 26% in South Asia, 20% in West Asia and North Africa, 53% in Latin America, and 59% in East Asia. With 2025 marking 3 decades since the Beijing Declaration, it is time for the world to assess whether the goals of gender equality set back then have genuinely been met. At the same time, girls around the world are stepping up to face today's biggest challenges. They are raising their voices for climate justice and demanding an end to violence globally. Today, women are confident problem solvers, striving to become self-reliant in every field. India has always prioritized welfare of girls. Schemes such as Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana have been launched nationwide. These initiatives not only aim to empower Indian women, but also ensure equal rights for them. Consequently, India has been steadily advancing its position in the Global Gender Gap Report year after year. Meanwhile, UNICEF is working with girl-led groups and networks at the global level to help create a world where girls' voices are not only heard in policy-making, programs and humanitarian response, but are also acted upon. Bureau Report, DD India. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India to showcase Buddha's sacred relics in Russia's Kalmykia. And megastar Amitabh Bachchan celebrates his birthday today.
Construction isn't just about steel and concrete. It can also be about restoring a hillside or creating homes that can protect both us and our planet.
This wattle and daub technique is called skin and bone of a structure. So here we have used bamboos cut into strips and weaved together as made as a panel. In that cap we fill it with mud and make it as a skin for it.
The trucks would just come by, dump the illegal waste and leave. Then we got some people to help and our Anand One urban forest team came into existence. Together we must have cleared about 30 to 40 tons of garbage out of this place.
One of the reasons for this structure that we have created here is to try and see if we can halt or reduce the rate of erosion. This is like a natural embankment for the forest land.
You're watching DT India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Days after political turmoil, French President Macron reappoints Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister. Lecornu faces Monday deadline to deliver next year's budget before Parliament. Trump escalates trade war with China, announces additional 100% tariff on Chinese goods from November 1st, also threatens to cancel summit talks with counterpart Xi Jinping. Deadly blast rocks US military explosive manufacturing facility in Tennessee. Multiple killed, 19 missing. Rescue operations underway. In a push to agriculture and allied sectors, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch Leh Foundation, dedicate various schemes and projects in New Delhi. In a landmark push to India's agriculture and allied sectors, Prime Minister Modi will launch schemes worth around $4 billion during a special Krishi program or agriculture program in New Delhi on Saturday. A highlight of the event will be the launch of PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. Prime Minister will address a public gathering, reaffirming the government's commitment to agricultural growth, rural development and farmer welfare. He will interact with farmers engaged with pulses cultivation, who directly benefited from various government schemes. The schemes aim to enhance agricultural productivity, promote crop diversification, boost post-harvest storage infrastructure, improve access to credit in 100 selected districts. PM Modi will also launch Mission for Atmanirbharta or self-reliance. In Pulses, the initiative seeks to increase pulses productivity, expand cultivation areas, strengthen the value chain and minimize post-harvest losses. In addition, Prime Minister will inaugurate and dedicate to the nation various projects in agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries and food processing sectors. During the program, PM will distribute certificates to farmers, technicians and other stakeholders. Artificial intelligence AI in telecom dominated discussions on the third day of India Mobile Congress 2025 that is underway in Yashobhoomi in New Delhi. Secretary of India's Ministry of Electronics and IT, S. Krishnan, stressed the need to not fear AI but to move along with it. DD India's Tanvi Taneja has more.
From AI and robotics to XR, AR and 6G. The 9th edition of India Mobile Congress 2025 provided a glimpse into the future of advanced telecom technologies. Organized by Department of Telecommunications and the Cellular Operator Association of India, IMC has established itself as one of Asia's most prominent technology expos.
With the current supply chain issues, geopolitical issues, sustainability, self-reliance is an imperative. It's not an option, it's not a choice. So the government is highly committed. As I said earlier, Sindhya ji, me, we're all, even though this is a private industry event, the government has taken so much interest to ensure all the startups, people who are working are all being celebrated, and we're doing our level best to do that.
A range of Made in India and For India demos highlighted the power of digitalization to further growth. India's Centre for Development of Telematics showcased indigenous technologies, powering India's digital networks to future-ready breakthroughs shaping cybersecurity and quantum communication.
In today's scenario, right from your access network where your villagers and a poor mobile is connected through mobile, they are connected through Wi-Fi, public network, to see how to have all such technologies to protect them. whether the technology is from any of the cellular operator or it is from any of this public Wi-Fi, C-Dot on top of that has this cyber security solution, C-Dot has the access network solution, C-Dot has a transport solution, C-Dot has a backhaul solution, C-Dot have a solution for cyber security of the cloud, of the enterprise, of the end user.
On the occasion, India-UK Connectivity and Innovation Centre was also launched as a joint initiative to translate ideas into action. With this centre, telecom companies of both countries will collaborate to shape the future of connectivity. The UK would invest £24 million over the next 4 years for the functioning of the CIC.
We have agreed jointly to invest £24 million over 4 years to bring together the world-leading researchers, innovators, and telecoms businesses, large and small, that operate in both of our countries. And we've talked about the 3 areas of focus that the centre will have, but I would say our goal, put very simply, is to work together to shape the future of connectivity.
A panel discussion on how to fuel CIC and to help telecom companies on both sides to grow in scale was also held. Individual pitches for Startup World Cup were also made. Also, the IMC 2025 awards were also distributed on the day 3 of the event. From voice to data, from 2G to 5G, India's telecom journey has been remarkable, but the AI-powered era promises to be its most exciting chapter so far. Tanvi Taneja's report for DD India.
Software Technology Parks of India, STPI, is participating at the India Mobile Congress 2025, Asia's largest technology and digital forum, which is being held from October 8th to 11th. DD India's Tanvi Taneja spoke to Director General of Software Technology Parks of India, Arvind Kumar.
We are at the IMC India Mobile Congress 2025 in Yashobhumi, Dwarka in New Delhi. It's a vibrant display of technological solutions, innovative to the core. And we are at the stall of STPI, Software Technology Parks of India. And I have with me Shri Arvind Gupta, Director General of STPI. What has your experience been at the event so far?
I think this is a very good demonstration of the country's development in the technology, how we are innovating ourselves. It is not, now this event was started from telecom, mobile technology. Now it is not that limited to mobile technology. Now you can see a lot of development in AI, a lot of development in other stakes also of the technology. So now it is a comprehensive exhibition, including cybersecurity, blockchain, IoT.
Talking of STPI, if you could tell us how it is helping the startups display their innovative from, heartland of our country.
Right. So STPI is basically supporting more than 2,000 tech startups. Many of them are in deep tech also. Our objective is not only to bring the startups from tier 1 cities. We are more focusing on tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We have 68 centers across the country. Out of the 68 centers, 60 centers are in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We have also created 24 centers of entrepreneurship across the country. And these centers are basically creating product from the country. Like we have done very excel, we have done wonders in software services. We started our journey from 52 crores. Now today we have 20 lakhs crore export from the country.
How do you look at AI for the startups or well-renowned companies to embrace it?
Each and every vertical of the technology are adopting the AI. And telecom is especially because telecom, if you see the telecom is a basic backbone of all technologies, because you can't travel the data. Everything is about the data. Data can only travel on the telecom infrastructure, which is like a national highway for the technology.
How prepared is India to leap into 6G generation?
Yeah, of course. We have already created a 6G forum and Bharat 6G, and I think 6G will be India's time, and I think we will have 6G time frame. It could be, I think, 2 to 3 years. We will have a India stake for the 6G as well.
Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to DD India.
Thank you.
With the camera person Saurabh Bakshi, this is Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has called for deeper collaboration between India and Australia in defence manufacturing, technology and innovation. Speaking at the India-Australia Defence Industry Roundtable in Sydney, co-chaired by Assistant Minister for Defence Peter Khalil, Singh described the relationship as one built on shared democratic values, mutual trust and growing strategic alignment.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Australia's Assistant Minister for Defence Peter Khalil jointly chaired the inaugural India-Australia Defence Industry Business Roundtable in Sydney on Friday, a landmark event attended by prominent industry leaders from both nations. In his address, Rajnath Singh reaffirmed the growing synergy between the two nations across strategic industrial and technological domains. The minister highlighted the pivotal role of Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative in driving this collaboration forward.
This round table can be a great catalyst to tap the unrealized potential in our defence industry collaboration. I invite the Australian business community to invest, collaborate and innovate with India. Together, we can develop cutting-edge technologies, build advanced platforms and ensure that our industries are not just suppliers, but strategic enablers of peace and security in the region.
Reflecting on the remarkable progress in bilateral ties fueled by high-level engagements in recent years, India's Defence Minister outlined three critical pillars underpinning this relationship: forward-looking government-to-government collaboration, vibrant people-to-people connections, and a strong convergence of business interests.
Our governmental frameworks are robust and getting further strengthened. On the people's front, we have a big Indian diaspora here in Australia, which is complemented by a good Australian presence in India.
Rajnath Singh began the second day of his visit to Australia by touring the historic and strategic naval facility HMAS Kuttabul. Accompanied by Australia's Peter Khalil, the Defence Minister was briefed on the state-of-the-art facilities at Sydney Harbour. Engaging with Sydney's vibrant Indian diaspora, Singh commended their invaluable contributions in strengthening the cultural and economic bonds between India and Australia. He highlighted India's elevated global stature over the past 12 years, crediting the community's role in this transformation. Embracing his spiritual and cultural values, Rajnath Singh visited the Babs Swaminarayan Temple in Sydney, where he participated in traditional rituals symbolising the deep cultural ties. The visit of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to Australia underscored the growing synergy between the two nations' maritime forces. Both leaders emphasised that India and Australia stand to gain significantly from deeper naval collaboration and enhanced cooperation in maritime domain awareness across the Indo-Pacific region.
Day 2 of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to Australia was all about business, quite literally. The Defence Industry Roundtable in Sydney aimed at bringing Indian and Australian defence companies closer together. This wasn't just a formal meet and greet, it was a real opportunity for industry leaders from both sides to discuss how they can build together, innovate together and invest in each other. Raksha Mantri spoke about the huge potential for joint research, co-production and tech partnerships, areas that are still wide open and ready to grow. This is Nazia Alvi Rahman in Sydney, Australia for DD India.
India's Minister of Power and Housing and Urban Affairs, Manohar Lal, continued a series of high-level engagements on the sidelines of the G20 Energy Transitions Ministerial meetings in Zimbabwe, South Africa. The minister held bilateral meetings with his counterparts from South Africa and Denmark, focusing on ways to strengthen cooperation in renewable energy, sustainable urban development, clean technology and innovation. Discussions come as part of India's broader commitment to global collaboration in building a just and inclusive energy future. Nazneen Ismail gets us more.
Here at the Energy Transitions Ministerial meeting in Zimbabwe, it's been a day of diplomacy and dialogue as India continues to build strong global partnerships in energy and sustainability. India's Minister of Power and Housing and Urban Affairs, Manohar Lal Khattar, held bilateral meetings with his counterparts from South Africa and Denmark, focusing on deepening cooperation in clean energy, renewable technology, and urban infrastructure. In his discussions with South Africa, the emphasis was on collaboration in power generation, smart housing initiatives, and capacity building, strengthening a partnership rooted in both history and shared development goals.
I want to start by thanking you that our SOE ESCOM now, as I speak to you, has sent a number of technicians and engineers to India through a bilateral cooperation we have with you to train our engineers and technicians on the FGD. So we are eternally grateful for that. In fact, there is a second group that's in India. So I want to say thank you very much for your positive disposition to us in the country.
India's energy landscape is dynamic and rapidly evolving, driven by robust economic growth, urbanization, and the rising aspiration of over 1.4 billion people. India is making significant progress towards 500 gigawatt renewable capacity by 2030, energy efficiency improvement, transmission capacity expansion, and key initiatives like the ethanol blending program, National Green Hydrogen Mission, PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, and the Nuclear Energy Mission.
With Denmark, talks centered on green energy innovation, offshore wind projects, and sustainable urban solutions, building on the strong momentum of the India-Denmark Green Strategic Partnership.
First time was when I was 18, and at that time India was, I think, 400 million people, and your electricity system was very weak. And coming back 2 years ago, visiting India, now you have more than 1 billion, and you have provided electricity for almost all of your population. I hope it makes you proud, and at least it makes me very humble that you have been capable to handle such a enormous increase in the demand, of course, but also that you have secured energy for such a broad part of your population.
Both meetings highlighted India's growing leadership in driving an inclusive and just energy transition, ensuring that clean technology and sustainable growth remain accessible to all. From the calm shores of Zimbabwe, I'm Nazneen Fadidi, India, South Africa, where global partnerships are shaping a greener tomorrow.
In other news, high-level delegation of 11 senior Indian monks transported sacred relics of Lord Buddha to Russia's Kalmykia Republic for an exposition. The Holy Relics Exposition, a first in the Russian Republic, is organized by India's Ministry of Culture in collaboration with International Buddhist Confederation, the National Museum, and Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts. The sacred relics preserved in National Museum will be enshrined in the main Buddhist monastery in Elesta, known as Giden Shedap Monastery, or the Golden Abode of Shakyamuni Buddha. The Indian monks will offer blessings to local devotees and conduct religious services for the region's predominantly Buddhist population from October 11th to 18th. The nation is celebrating birth anniversary of Jayaprakash Narayan, who was an Indian independence activist, theorist, socialist and political figure. He is also known as JP or Loknayak. Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan, with his thoughts, philosophy, high ideals and unique personality, not only shaped the direction of the country, but also awakened the imagination of the common man. The movement known as the JP movement or Total Revolution was the first and biggest mass movement in independent India, which shook Indira Gandhi's government, gave birth to a new generation of leaders and sought to bring honesty into political life. At the end of this moment, a state of emergency was declared, which later led to the victory of the Janata Party and the formation of the first non-Congress government at the centre in March of 1977. Jayaprakash Narayan passed away on October 8, 1979 in Patna. He was awarded India's highest civilian honour, Bharat Ratna, in 1999. Posthumously. Prime Minister Modi on Saturday paid tributes to Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan on his birth anniversary. In a post on X, Prime Minister said, on Loknayak JP's birth anniversary, a rare glimpse from the archives Here are pages from his book, Prison Diary, written during the emergency. During the emergency, Loknayak JP spent several days in solitary confinement. His prison diary captures his anguish and unbroken faith in democracy. Every nail driven into the coffin of Indian democracy is like a nail driven into my heart. Mumbai turned festive today as scores of fans gathered outside Bollywood megastar Amitabh Bachchan's iconic residence in Juhu to celebrate his birthday. Born on October 11, 1942, Amitabh Harivansh Rai Bachchan is one of the most legendary figures in Indian cinema. Known for his distinctive baritone voice and towering presence, he remains a defining icon of Bollywood and Indian television history. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for all the action from sports. In cricket, Indian batters continue to pile runs against modest West Indies attack on the second day of the second test in Delhi on Saturday. Their total crossed 400 runs in opening session after opener Yashasvi Jaiswal and skipper Shubman Gill resumed play. Jaiswal was run out after adding just 2 runs to his overnight score of 173 runs. But Gill notched up a half-century. India had ended day 1 on 318 runs for the loss of 2 wickets. They lead the 2-match series 1-0, eye a clean sweep. On the other hand, the visitors led by Roston Chase look to avoid a second successive test whitewash after losing 3-0 to Australia at home. And DD India correspondent Narayan Singh joins us live from New Delhi. Narayan, India looks in a commanding position in the second test. Is the match, the series, predictable from here on?
Shubhendu, good morning. Definitely the way things are going right now, as you mentioned that India posted a huge total on day 1 itself, just over 300 runs yesterday, and today long batting lineup is present. Nitish Kumar Reddy is there, Shubman Gill is there, Ravindra Jadeja is there. So India's batting lineup is deep, and as they scored more than 300 runs on day 1, definitely India can today, if they play till the third session, definitely they will score more than 500 runs. And the test way is going in a one-sided fashion. But yesterday, their counterpart West Indies showed some disciplined bowling attack, and it was better than that of the first test match in Ahmedabad. So they can take some aspiration from there, and today on day 2 they can just try to restrict the Indian batters so that they can they can be still alive in this second test match at the Delhi's Arun Jaitley Stadium. But all in all, India, we know that the dominant cricket they have played in the past few years, and the way Yashasvi Jaiswal scoring 150 plus run yesterday, definitely he's looking one of the greatest of the game at the age of 23. If you take a look at Jaiswal's record, he has scored 700 so far in his test career, and 150, and in his 5 innings he scored more than 150 plus run. And before turning 24, he is the second after Don Bradman to do this achievement. So it shows we can say that the bench strength of the Indian cricket, especially in the test match, and West Indies can take a lesson from this Indian team, how to groom their player. As you mentioned in your story that previously before this series they lost to Australia 3-0 in the home condition. Definitely it's a wake-up call for the West Indies, the great West Indies team who dominated the world cricket in late 70s and in 80s, and definitely their cricket is in big crisis, and the greats of the game who belong to West Indies should come forward and just lift this West Indies cricket. During the press conference also, their captain Roston Chase said that he talked to Vivian Richards and other greats of the West Indies cricket, and they just advised them, be confident and you should play to the potential and keep faith in yourself and play a disciplined cricket. So that's the key for the West Indies cricketers right now. The only way to save their test cricket is to play against the quality opponents like India, and just you can learn the aspects of the red ball cricket from the India too, and take your cricket forward from here.
Thank you for those updates and insights, Narayan. From cricket to badminton, India's Anmol Karab sailed into the semi-finals of Arctic Open badminton tournament in Finland. This is the first time the 18-year-old has made it to the top 4 of a BWF Super 500 badminton tournament. The Indian badminton player beat Danish Amali Schultz 21-15, 21-14 in just 36 minutes. This was Kalb's third straight victory over Schultz. The previous two come at last year's Polish and Belgian international tournaments. Meanwhile, Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Crasto had to bow out after losing their quarterfinals match. And with the rare Nehru blossoms painting Sri Lanka's Houghton Plains in vibrant shades after 12 long years, nature once again reminds us its timeless magic. Visitors are urged to treat lightly and respectfully in this sacred ecosystem. The next bloom may be more than a decade away, but the memories made can last a lifetime. Nature at its best. But that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Have a great day.